some big implications in Georgia when it comes to the election, as the Georgia State Election Board has just approved a new hand counting ballot rule. So let's break it down here for you. The Georgia State Election Board convened today to discuss and vote on nearly a dozen proposed changes to election rules ahead of the November general election. Among the most contentious proposals was a new requirement for all ballots to be hand counted at each polling location, which the board has now approved.
Yeah, it's one thing to say falsely that there's something wrong in the elections. It's another thing to actually monkey wrench the works so that Georgia really can't count its vote. Radical stuff going on in Georgia. Not just creating false propaganda about election problems that aren't there, but now moving on to actually creating real election problems for real. They're going to try to make Georgia take months to count. It's not just going to test our patience. It would break the system. Because if it's going to take months, at that point, the deadlines for Georgia and every other state producing their electoral votes will have long passed.
Trump's state election board voted this week to require ballots to be hand counted in November. It's a move that could drastically lengthen the amount of time needed to tally results in the critical battleground state of Georgia. People have been warning of possible trouble from this panel. Is this the opening salvo of mischief from them in this make or break it state?
I mean, Rev, when I read this news, the first thing that came to my mind was that it just got a whole lot easier for Donald Trump to call an election official in Georgia and ask him to find 11,780 votes like he did after 2020, right? Like, that's what this setup feels like. And the fact that it's happening a month and a half before the election raises a lot of questions about the intention here. To expect that the state has capacity to hand count nearly 10 million votes is ridiculous. And so I'm thinking about at the county level, what's the staffing plan? I'm also thinking about security for the volunteers who we have seen threatened in the past when the results, of course, were released, and then the delay about those results and having that impact the election outcome as well. So I have a lot of concerns, Rev, and if people don't have concerns about this, I just got to say, Florida 2000. Remember the hanging Chad? Remember the white men pounding on doors at election offices? That seems like a very scary place to return to, and I do hope this decision is challenged in court because the only purpose here is to create chaos.
How does the vote itself actually happen on Election Day?
Well, like most democratic elections, voting is secret here in France, and it's usually done using paper and manual counting. Paper and manual counting. Paper and manual counting. Paper and manual counting.